CODA, 2021 film, released on Apple TV+, winner of the last Oscar for Best Feature Film after a campaign from Apple which apparently cost more than the budget of the film itself, which is a bit wild, but hey, it got them the historic first win for a streaming film, so I guess that counts for something. It also won Best Supporting Actor for Troy Kotsur and Best Adapted Screenplay. Adapted because the film is actually a remake of a 2014 French movie called The Bélier Family. Now, I haven't seen that one. Apparently it was okay, but there was a controversy as a couple of the deaf characters in the film were played by actual hearing people, which the deaf community was upset about, and now CODA rectifies that mistake, if you can call it that, and casts multiple deaf people in the lead roles. The title has a double meaning. The main one is the acronym for Child of Deaf Adults, which describes the main character, Ruby. She's a teenager who lives in a small town with her parents and her brother, all of whom are deaf except for her. And as a result, she sort of lives on the border between two different worlds. And on the one hand, her family relies on her to be an interpreter and translate between them and the outside world. And on the other hand, the fact that she's the odd one out and the fact that she's got access to a whole other side of the world that the rest of them don't causes friction. And this is where the second meaning of the title CODA comes in. CODA as a musical term. It's a concluding passage of music in a composition. Now, Ruby likes to sing, and she signs up to be part of a school choir. And the charismatic music teacher sees something in her and then pushes her to develop those singing talents and potentially go to college to have a full career in music. And so she begins to try and balance the increasing amount of work on that front, on the musical front, with the pressure from her family to help out more and more with their fishing business, with the family business, and help them interact with the outside world. Which, of course, the two things, balancing them out, becomes harder and harder to do and leads to trouble. So, I have to say I enjoyed the film quite a lot. I think it presents us with a fairly rare and unusual situation. For me, certainly, it was an experience of being in someone else's shoes. But for how different it is, the lines of conflict in this story are drawn very clearly and in a sort of relatable way. It feels like there's little artificial drama. It all feels organic and natural and yet tragic in how inevitable the forces pulling on Ruby are. I think the performances are very good, especially the main family is completely believable as a family unit, as people who love each other dearly but also can piss each other off quite often and sometimes have trouble understanding one another. And very often in those situations, crucially, it's not like one person is right and the other person is wrong. They just have different perspectives on the same situation. I liked some of the editing choices, particularly the sound mixing during the performance scene at school. It was somehow very unexpected and at the same time perfectly fitting. I did have one problem with the pacing towards the end. It felt to me like the movie really didn't want to end and then dragged a couple of scenes too long. It also has this weird structure where it reaches a climax, an emotional climax, and then it calms things down, and then suddenly a couple things more, there's another climax, and it just feels a little bit weird. I think this could have been improved slightly. Plus, for my liking, the way the story unfolds, the ending felt a little too simplified, a little too elegant and positive. But hey, maybe it's just the kind of story. Regardless of the ending, I felt that the journey there was certainly worth it and when worth the time. Solid movie.